I would just like to introduce our group to you. I am Michelle. We have Hayley, Lorna, Candice, Bukelwa, Pumla, and Nozuko, and we will be taking you through multi-skilling. Sit back and enjoy.
I'm going to be introducing multi-skilling. What is multi-skilling? Multi-skilling is a word commonly used to refer to endowing multiple skills into a single employee. In context of labor unions, this implies to promoting a wide range of skills and knowledge in the workers to make them capable of working on multiple projects. Ladies and gentlemen, I guess that is self-explaining. It's explaining exactly what it is.
Scenario, but it's always good to be able to be multi-skilled in different areas because you become more valuable as a person yourself.
Do you think it's more valuable than being the best at one thing?
Generally speaking, no. You look at a brain surgeon versus a GP. The brain surgeon is going to be able to, acquire a higher financial reward, I guess you would say. But then you got to go, well, if it's not just financial, if you're looking at it from even an enjoyment perspective, and I know we're flipping the whole thing here, but as an individual, I'm definitely what I'd call a jack of all trades, master of none. Doesn't mean I'm not good at anything, or I'm not a leader at something. Being able to have that diverse skill set to be able to take up the slack if needed anywhere with anything.
Let me go over to concept of multi-skilling. Multi-skilling, ladies and gentlemen, is a way of organizing work so that employees can use greater range of skills. This means that people have to acquire more than one skill, which will enable them to work in a diverse places, in an adaptable organization change. Be effective, flexible. Ladies and gentlemen, there are 4 types of multi-skilling. There is horizontal multi-skilling. What is horizontal multi-skilling, ladies and gentlemen? This is where a person takes another person's job that is at the same level as his job. You are doing another job that is the same level as your job, your current job, ladies and gentlemen. Vertical multi-skilling is where a person knows how to operate, maybe let's say you know how to operate a machine, but then now you are doing maintenance in the machine. That is vertical. Cross-skilling, it involves giving an employee a skill of similar complexity with his current or her current job. Employee acquires skills of a different job which is the same level with the current one. Generic working. This is where an employee is doing a job for the first time. The job that never existed, ladies and gentlemen, but you are able to do it for the first time and you are doing it perfectly. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Over to you, Candice.
Hi everyone, I am Candice and I'll be doing the factors supporting multi-skilling and the value of multi-skilling. So firstly, I'll be starting with factors supporting multi-skilling, which has 2 perspectives, one from the organizational side and one from the learner side. Learners in our PowerPoint presentation we speak about the employees. The organizational perspective. In terms of supporting multi-skilling, you have a diverse skills that are needed to encourage a flexible organization. The need to be competitive forces requires an organization to change. introduction of a new technology to optimize business processes and gain a competitive advantage. This helps the organization to optimally use their workforce. It gives them easy deployment of the employees across projects where they are needed, which increases productivity and quality of the deliverables of the organization. It also creates a flexible workforce. So the organization needs to respond by giving employees new tasks, giving new roles, and giving new knowledge. So the company does not have to depend on one particular person to do a specialized job, because the new learners, employees in this case, are now multi-skilled. So I will be now also addressing the learner perspective. Please bear in mind that we are speaking about employees, but we deal with the word learners because in terms of the person that must be upskilled is employees. This regards learning. So the learner perspective, employees, please remember employees. Learners are becoming aware that for them to be employable, they should have diverse skills in order to be relevant in the market. Employees are aware that being multi-skilled enables them to cope with any change in the organization. So therefore, when we need to support multi-skilling, it helps in job security. It creates individual productivity to be multi-skilled. It gives employees better prospects, which can lead to personal achievements and employees obtaining their goals quicker. For this, an employer, or hence, or what we said, learner, needs to prepare for change as their response. They need to undertake new roles. They also are required to think outside the box and challenge their way of thinking, because they're being multi-skilled, meaning they have to develop and train their skills in the workplace. This in change helps them to maintain a high level of motivation in the workplace, as well as them being enthusiastic about learning. And with that, the employees, the learner perspective becomes more diversified within the workforce. Value of multi-skilling. So we already added value to the organization. Remember, multi-skilling comes when employees are learning new skills. So my core function, I already know. I've added another skill which is outside my role to the skills which I already have. And that is already creating value in the organization. So by being multi-skilled, employees give an organization the ability to adapt to changes in the market conditions and increases it in the demands. So their skills are better used because now you have a new range of skills. You have gained the competence and the expertise in the workplace. This increases your job variety, therefore higher pay and being motivated in your job. You look forward because you have acquired a new skill, and motivation is always key in the organization. Hence, the subject topic of what I'm discussing now is value of multi-skilling. Being multi-skilled, workers become assets to the organization. It enhances the training and the skills required of the area of business. This creates cheaper costs of service to the organization better quality of service and faster response time. It enhances the efficiency and effectiveness of employees and allows us to participate in work processes much better. I will now be handing over to Hayley, which will be doing the genetics of a multi-skilling program.
Hi, I'm Hailey Ardenser, and I'll be taking you through genetic skills of a multi-skilling program. Genetic skills, also known as genetic attributes, key skills, and core competencies, is commonly used and accepted in current discussions in society, education, and working life. Examples of genetic skills are communication, teamwork, creative thinking, problem solving. When we refer to communication, we speak about conveys and exchanges thoughts, ideas, and information effectively through various mediums and approaches. When we speak about teamwork, we refer to work collaboratively and effectively with others to contribute to group efforts to achieve identified objectives. When we refer to creative thinking, we speak about adopting a fresh perspective to combine ideas or information in new ways and make connections between seemingly unrelated fields to create new ideas and applications. And lastly, when we speak about problem solving, it means to generate feasible and efficient solutions to solve problems and capitalize on new opportunities. For meaningful learning to take place, learners need to have the basics from which further learning will take place. Lacking these basic skills, multi-skilling programs are less likely to be successful. Why are genetic skills important? Skills allow us to coordinate, adapt, and apply specific skills in new contexts and circumstances. Genetic skills also allow new skills to be developed, which help to succeed in new situations, manage and adjust to change, and to flourish by creating what matters even in the face of difficulty. In today's life, genetic skills are important because work and life are both on the move. Both are getting more complex, both require flexibility, initiative, creativity, emotional mastery, and the ability to perform several different tasks and learn from one's own experiences and the experiences of others. Next, I'll be focusing on the views of learning and genetic multi-skilling skills. So according to Carnival, Gaynor, and Melter, their views of learning and genetic skills are as follows. They say that organizational effectiveness or leadership is required, interpersonal or negotiation, teamwork, self-esteem or goal setting, motivation or employability, career development, creative problem solving, communication, listening and oral communication, the 3 R's, which is reading, writing, and arithmetic, and learning to learn. Secondly, we look at the views of McGill and Beatty, and their views are as follows. Group, working together, interpersonal skill, listening and attending, reflecting back and questioning, disclosure and assertion, management of emotion, empathy, giving and receiving feedback, using shoulds and oughts, using generalization, and lastly, specifying actions. Lastly, we will look at the views of Longworth and Davids, and their views are as follows. Learning to learn, putting knowledge into practice, questioning and reasoning, managing oneself and others, managing information, communication skills, teamwork, problem-solving skills, adaptability and flexibility, understanding responsibility of updating and upgrading one's own competence. In a nutshell, the views from the above mentioned researchers are quite similar in terms of generic multi-skilling. Problem-solving skills, communication, teamwork, and managing oneself and others are common denominators between the researchers. I will now be discussing the critical cross-field outcomes as accepted by SAQA, which is the South African Qualifications Authority. Firstly, they state that learners should be able to identify and solve problems by using critical and creative thinking skills. Learners should be able to work effectively with others as members of a team, group, organization, or community. Learners should be able to manage themselves and their activities responsibly and effectively. Learners should be able to collect, analyze, organize, and critically evaluate information. Learners should be able to communicate effectively using visual, mathematical, and/or language skills in modes of oral and/or written communication. Learners should be able to use science and technology effectively and critically, showing responsibility effectively and critically towards the environment and the health of others. Lastly, learners should be able to demonstrate an understanding of the world as a set of related systems by recognizing that problem-solving contexts do not exist in isolation. So from an overview of what is required by organizations to enable learning and what is required in the standards to be generated, it is clear that there are significant similarities in 4 different views of learning experiences. Theoretically, in any multi-skilling program, it is important to ensure that these basics are attended to in the delivery and design of learning. That is all from my side, and I will now be handing over to Lorna.
Hi everyone, my name is Lorna. I'll be doing strategies to promote multi-skilling. Job design identifies working relationships with managers and colleagues and social relationships between the employee and work. Job enlargement. The employee's existing job is expanded horizontally to include a greater variety of activities that give him more skills. This means that a person will do more different activities in their current job. Job enrichment. The employee's existing job is expanded vertically so as to provide the employee with a greater challenge and responsibility that enable him or her to acquire more skills of higher level. So the goal of job enrichment is to create a motivating job. Job rotation. The employee moves among jobs within a department. Job rotation is also done to help overcome shortages of talent. The employee can become endowed with different skills and hereby curb a shortage of talent during times of higher turnover. For example, you can work as an HR consultant, still doing recruitment and payroll, and also maybe employee benefits. Work arrangements. The use of contract workers, temporary workers, independent contractors, and flexi-time. This enables employees to acquire more skills, as this mode of working requires the use of more than one skill. For example, if you are to work from home, you should have skills to use technology to connect yourself to the other workers at the physical office. Career development consists of actions undertaken to create and develop necessary qualities for potential employees' opportunities. Will also increase multi-skilling in employees. This can be done through mentoring programs and training programs. Or what you can do as an employer, you can even maybe send your employees to leadership courses to acquire more skills. Thank you so much for listening. I am now going to hand over
to Michelle, who will be doing practical implementation of multi-skilling.
Thank you, Lorna. Hi everyone, I am Michelle, and like Lorna mentioned, I will be taking you through the practical implementation of multi-skilling. So, in order to introduce a multi-skilling program and process in an organization, it requires thorough planning and must be part of a well-developed strategy. The strategy should include the standard according to the SAQA requirements and should also meet the needs of the organization and take into consideration all organizational elements. The strategy also needs to consider other systems that may be positively or negatively impacted by multi-skilling, such as recruitment and selection, career development, performance appraisals, learning and development, and remuneration. It is imperative for the organization to have competence at its core of its HR system and develop an explanatory model of multi-skilling. Consulted process. All relevant stakeholders within the company should be consulted and be part and parcel of the implementation of multi-skilling. Driving the strategy to multi-skilling learners is to ensure that the organization has and maintains its competitive edge. Consultation process should provide suitable context for organizational change. Skills audit. Organizations should evaluate its current skills and skills required for the organization's future needs. The skills audit will provide the organization with the necessary support to achieve its overall plan for the skills development within the framework of the Skills Development Act. Implementation. Learners should be educated on the resources available to them in order for multi-skilling to unfold. Resources could be in the form of e-learning modules that will support the learners in upskilling and achieving multi-skills. Monitoring the process. During implementation, an organization should adopt a reactive approach to ensure the monitoring of the required organizational skills are met. Throughout the monitoring process, shortcomings of new skills will surface, and this will ensure that the organizational environment continues to evolve.
Hello, my name is Nosugutikayo, and I'm going to take you guys to factors to consider during implementation of the multi-skilling strategy. The utilization of the multi-skilling process in organization provides a number of advantages to both organization and their employees. The advantages to companies that adopted the multi-skilled labor strategy include motivation and development of staff, improved staff retention, reduce the impact of labor shortages through a more efficient utilization of present employees, and increase the effectiveness and the flexibility in dealing with diverse tasks. Okay, so in this slide, here are some identified factors that require consideration. Now, in the beginning of the process, objectives of the multi-skilling should be clear and thoroughly communicated to all concerned and involved parties. Management should communicate the roles and tasks assigned to learners to ensure the desired goals are obtained. Management is responsible to establish structure, and mentors are to be appointed to ensure productivity, quality, effectiveness, and the smooth running of the program. And lastly, labor agreements need to support the multi-skilling process, and at the end of the multi-skilling process, job rotation is required to ensure that the skills levels are sustained. Okay, so now I'll be taking you guys through the limitations to the multi-skilling process. Okay, many companies consider multi-skilling as a valuable labor strategy with great benefits. However, this strategy comes with a lot of difficulties. Companies encounter obstacles during this process for a number of reasons, namely the high mobility of learners, safety issues related to some skills, and insufficient support for training, and also dealing with trade unions. To conclude, the multi-skilling of employees is something that is perceived as an effective tool to organize jobs in a way that improves flexibility, productivity, and enhance job satisfaction in most companies. However, it has many implications and limitations that one needs to consider prior implementing this process. Now, to make a multi-skilling a success, employees must feel that they are upskilled and acquiring new competences through training. I will now hand over to Pamela. Thank you.
Thank you, Zuki, for handing over. My name is Pumla, as I was introduced. I'll be dealing with the drawbacks of multi-skilling. Then I'll quickly jump to developing the competency of multi-skilling. Let's go then to the drawbacks of multi-skilling. A jack of all trades is a master of none. This usually constitutes the core argument against multi-skilling, especially when it comes to skills that are commercially valuable to an organization. When an agent must represent multi-products or brands, there is the potential that the experience and commerciality may be impacted. Training, cost, and skills digression. Training and continual learning can be costly in the cross-trained model, especially in the contact center, typically has high employee turnover. Increased AST and the ever-sinking queue could also be the drawbacks of multi-skilling. Developing the competency model, but before I go to the context, I would like to define what is it. It is a policy established by the Human Resource Department that sets out skills, knowledge, and behavioral requirements that enable all employees to do their job successfully. The question may arise, somebody may ask, why developing a competency model? The purpose of this model, number one, it communicates what is expected of the employees or the staff. How should they do their job is communicated in the model. Number two, it is used as a benchmark to ensure that people have the necessary skills they want or they need to perform their job successfully. Let us look at how to develop this model. How is it developed? Who is developing it? As we said earlier, it is developed by it's a policy from the Human Resource Department. Then, how is it developed? It entirely depends on the purpose and the type of that particular model. Looking at there ought to be a competency model or system for each arrangement of capabilities. All they're saying, there is no single way of developing a competency model. It entirely depends on the type and the purpose of that model. Let us look at developing a competency model for the purpose of multi-skilling employees. What do you need to consider? According to Champion Fink, Rubak Carr and Phillips Oddman, there are guidelines that you need to follow. You need to follow a guidelines on developing the model for the purpose of multi-skill. Number one, they speak about consider the organizational context. What is an organizational context? There are those factors that are likely to influence the job performance. Factors include market customers, employee relations, and union representatives. They are saying consider those factors when you develop the model, because the model should be aligned with the strategy of the organization. Number two, they are saying link the model to the objectives and to the goals of the organization. How do you do that? By identifying the characteristics, the skills, the knowledge of the employees in order to develop the objectives and the goals of the company. Number three, they mention use the job analysis method to develop competencies. Job analysis method will help you to gather valid information. What is required in this job title? You can only get that in the job analysis. Then you use that to develop a competency model. Number four, what is it that is to be achieved through multi-skilling? When you develop a model, you need to look at what is it that is to be achieved. What do you want to achieve in developing this model? Build a model that will reflect what is required later on. Don't look only at the present. While considering difficulties that may introduce themselves at a while, consider what will change. Consider what will change with the job title. Look at the future of the job title when developing that model. Number five, they speak about define the autonomy of a competency. And they say defines the capabilities altogether by giving tricky names or title, by building up a definition for the most part of paragraph at work in conduct terms, and point by point portraying of the degrees of capabilities of the competency. The last point, they speak about include generic and job specific competency. Where true investigation has been done, both conventionally and employment explicit ability to develop and ought to be remembered for the model. Thank you very much.